welcome. So it is Thursday the 21st of May, and today we are with Judy Xu and we're talking conscious leadership at work and play. So Judy's in Hong Kong, I'm in London. So we'll do as we normally do and invite everybody to share on the chat as we watch everybody join the webinar, and just make sure everybody's here, everyone can hear us, everyone can see us. So just pop in the chat where we've got everybody coming from. It's very warm here today in London. We've got a little bit of a heat wave going on, which is gorgeous, but it's quite warm in my flat. So yeah, we've got people jumping on, so I can see the webinar is live now. But can you just pop in the chat? We'd love to know where you're from. Just say hi and the country or the state where you're in, and then we can see those messages. That's always good to know, whether we've got people locally or people from further afield. So I just invite you to share in the chat. So hi, so we've got Jacqueline from Belgium. Hi, and we've got Carrie from Hong Kong. Okay, Judy, I think you know Carrie, so that's lovely. Let's see who else we've got here. We've got a couple of messages just coming up at the moment. So generally we start, oh, we've got Claire, lovely, Andrea, hi, welcome. So great to see you all. So just checking everything's working. And South Africa, okay, lovely. Hi, Vivienne. Nice to welcome you here today. So it's great for us just to make these sessions really interactive. So you know, they're conversations that we're having around leadership and how we believe leadership needs to be redesigned or could be redesigned to make it work better for us all. And what we're inviting is certainly your comments and feedback. So we don't want it to be just us having a conversation between ourselves. We definitely want you to be interacting with us. So you can share on the chat. We can see it as panelists. So if anything comes up to you throughout the conference, throughout the conversations, then do obviously put in a comment that resonates with you. So it's lovely for us just to see what's going on. So we are now on day 3 of the conference, day 4 almost, because we had Monday as a bonus session. And today we're talking very much about family balance. And, you know, balance is an interesting word, because I know a lot of people, it's not really a work-life balance. It's more of a work-life blend. But we're going to be talking about today how women, particularly when they've got a busy, demanding role, when they've got their own business, when they've got children, and then you throw coronavirus into the mix, how they make that work. So we've got 2 different examples today, and Judy Xu, as I say, is coming to us from Hong Kong. And Judy and I have known each other maybe for about a year or so, not too long, and we just first met back in January, I think it was, or February. You were over on your way to Switzerland for a ski trip, a family ski trip, and I'll let you sort of share a bit more about what happened on that ski trip afterwards. But just to say, Judy is one of the most incredible women I know, with the amount of things that she seems to juggle and sort of balance with such ease and grace. And that's what I wanted to really sort of dive into today, is the approach that she brings, the mindset that she has that allows her to show up in her business and be expansive and creative there, to show up in her relationship with her husband, to show up in her relationship with her children, and, you know, and juggle it all. And so we're going to be looking at that, because I think it's a topic that's close to many women's hearts. And I've certainly been in conversations recently with lots of women who are struggling with a huge amount of overwhelm, and who are certainly feeling that, you know, with homeschooling and lockdown, you know, it's just one too many things. And so there's a lot of conversation going on about how do we redistribute care in the home, how do we shift things so that there's more co-parenting going on, and lots of just different things about how women can be kinder to themselves, how women can actually, you know, go within, and what is it that's an inner game that needs to shift, and what is it externally, so that women can take their rightful seat at the table, at the business table, as much as the kitchen table, and really be able to step forward in the ways that they want to. And I was reading this morning, just in Christine Armstrong's The Mother of All Jobs, that since 1975, we had, I think it was half of our workforce was working women, and now it's 72%. So, you know, it's a big group, and I used to work very closely with working women who were becoming parents. So I know that sort of group very, very well. And we want to be very inclusive on this conversation. So we'd love to hear from, some dads who are parenting and how they're finding it as well. But today it's all about, or this morning it's all about Judy. And so Judy, as I say, is an incredibly accomplished individual. She's very highly educated. She runs her own complementary therapies clinic. She's got 2 young children and a husband with a demanding job. So, we want to sort of understand how that feels and what's that like and how you manage to make that work. And I touched on, we met when we were back in London and you were on your way to Switzerland. I'd love it if you just share a little bit more about you and then share with us what happened on that recent trip for you.
Sure, and thank you, Lisa. And I will also like to echo you that you're running this big conference and have 28 talks and across 9 days with such grace and ease. And I think we are all women and we all have tremendous capability if we don't hold it as a big task. If we just take it as usual and just do what we love and do what is joyful, and then that everything will be okay. So that's probably the first thing I would like to say. Back to you asked about the holiday. I think that if I remember right, I met you in January 22nd. So we flew over to Switzerland for our ski holiday. Then I planned the first 2-3 days, flew over to UK to meet you and another my daring friend, Sarah. We want to develop some leadership program. After I flew back from UK back to Switzerland, and then the whole coronavirus thing in Hong Kong slowly kind of scaled up. And then I wake up in the morning and I read the news. That's the day we're going up to the mountain. And then the news is quite a lot of the coronavirus thing and talking about the school will kind of delay to open. And I just have that very strong sense that it might be bigger than what the news already shared. And the school will close probably longer and we need to get prepared. So that I begin to have a conversation with my husband of how we do this and how we pivoting kind of the thoughts about, crisis is coming towards how we took this as an opportunity. Like in Chinese, we have a very interesting word which called 危机. It's one word, but literally 危 means crisis and 机 means opportunity. So crisis, opportunity, how you pivoting, right? And then we kind of discussed that, why not, if the school is not going to open in Hong Kong and the things getting worse in Hong Kong, so why not we make this an opportunity for us to stay in Switzerland a bit longer? And then we sourced the international school for our kids. And then I arranged a way for me to remotely manage my business. And my husband also arranged a way with their company, how he can work in their Switzerland Zurich office. So in the end of the day, because of that, we are pivoting really quick and we put all our energy, instead of worry of how we handle this, into that how we can make the best out of it. So that my kids really enjoyed the international school experience in Switzerland. We had 2 months and I developed some good even business relationship with some amazing women who want to do the similar things of raise the consciousness and bring wisdom to the whole world. And my husband also developed good business over there in Europe, so that everything works very well. And we had fantastic experience with my husband's family. It's the first time that the 3 generations spent really great time together.
Yeah, and I was watching unfolded. And just remind everybody how old your children are, or show everybody how old your children are.
So I have 7 and 9 years old.
Yeah, so they're young, and they were, one thing I remember you talking about, because we were in touch that whole time, was just how adaptable they seemed to be. But I think that was down to the grace and ease of you, and I assume your husband, but certainly what I was seeing from you was just this calmness, just this, okay, this is happening, let's just shift our attention here, let's organize this. And literally within a matter of days, you were like, okay, we're staying, we've got them in schools, we're doing this. And it was really amazing to watch the evolution and to watch it happen, and for it to be such a positive experience for you, you know, and for the whole family. And so now you're back in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong are just kind of coming out of the lockdown a little bit, aren't they? And, you know, just share for us a little bit how it impacted your business, because you touched on, you know, you were able to run your business remotely, but that was quite challenging when you've got a complementary therapies clinic where people are coming into the business. So what's happening with your business now, and how did that sort of transition, or how is it working?
Yeah, so the business side is actually quite okay, because that we are there to support people with their health balance and also mental health. So it's also a time that we actually need to give even more support for people from physical health. That our Chinese medicine is actually booming, because that people begin to realize how important and how effective Chinese medicine is as a natural way. Even the whole China, they use Chinese medicine to combat the COVID for preventative and all that. And we also took this opportunity to bring our business more online, so that we can do remote consultation with our Chinese medicine doctor, and we can send the medicines to Hong Kong and globally. But there is recently, because of the whole airline stopped, so that makes it a bit difficult for us. And then that we also have all our energy healings. So we make it, many of our practitioners can actually do distant healing, so that they can do distant energy healing. And for me, like, I do coaching, and we have a lot of other practitioners can do things like EFT and emotional freedom, and things like tapping.
Taken everything that you do and moved it so that it can work in the current situation, so that you can pivot. Picking up, what was the word that you shared with me? The crisis opportunity. How you turn the crisis into opportunity, so that we actually are doing a lot of online. I actually find, for me, coaching through online, I feel that it's easier in a sense, that the whole organization and things, and also easier for some of my clients. They feel, oh, they don't need to come all the way, and some of them, they will prefer to stay this way even after the whole COVID. So that is also great. And we also make this opportunity to run more like webinars, workshop, a lot of free, just to support people, and also to use this time that to kind of unite the team also, and to really go back to our purpose. Because our purpose, we all say that our vision is really to support people in their journey toward health balance and personal transformation. And we say that let's heal the world one person at a time, and raise the consciousness one person at a time. And COVID-19 is actually call us to do more, because there's more healing needed. There's more consciousness needed to lift up. So that our whole team is actually doing more of that. We're doing more webinars, more events, and many of our practitioners, like me, I'm also offering flexible rates for people who might not have means to support them to get the service, and they can just turn into themselves and feel whatever they would like to contribute. And we all feel very good of doing that. Yeah, and I know you had, you know, a group meditation, didn't you, before the coronavirus? I know this sense of helping many, many people, one sort of person at a time, is something that really sort of drives you. And you lifted up, you were part of was it One Love, the meditation that you did?
Yes, I do group meditation. I do
There was
future.
wasn't there an event that you were part of? Wasn't it quite a big part?
I think probably you're mentioning that I was part of before Hong Kong. For those you probably know that before the COVID, we have another quite internal issue, which is we have a lot kind of like riot, protest situation, and the society is quite separate. So a group of us, all volunteers, we come together and we did a big event called Be Love. And because we do believe that in a higher level, we all need to move from like me to we, and from we to oneness, and to really use love and light to unite rather than separate. So we made a very big whole day event, have different type of meditation, yoga, sound therapy, and use all that just to unite people and send out the message that we are all love. Let's collaborate rather than separate. And the way we do it, we always have two therapists or two practitioners to do it together. We will have sounds, for example, Tibetan singing bowl with a Tai Chi master. So it's a way of co-create. So we are different, but we can co-create, and we are all one. And I was the MC for that event, and I really enjoy that, just to deliver the message and to see people that can be just so relaxed rather than the normal time that the Hong Kong has that a bit tense energy.
So bringing that, conversation is very much about, how you as a woman, as you as a mother, as you as a businesswoman kind of show up, and the energy, and obviously that sense of a shared consciousness of using love to, drive everything that you do. I'm interested to sort of dive into that a little bit deeper, and I know you shared with me a little bit about sort of what is important to you, and how you do manage to keep all these balls in the air and juggle all these different things. So the energy that you have for parenting, you were sharing about, there's a lot of parents at the moment struggling with the level of homeschooling that they're managing to achieve. I'm curious sort of how you bring your kind of energy to homeschooling. I thought it was interesting what you shared with me about that.
Yeah. First of all, I need to admit that I also struggled and to do homeschooling, that because we do have the work that we are passionate about, right? And I also do have a business I need to manage, and I'm being responsible. I'm also passionate about. I want to put time into that. But at the same time, that kids are at home, so that they also need us to spend more time with them and help them. So what I learned from this process is also that set the right expectation and letting go, and know your priorities, what is important and what is less important. So for me, I probably took this time again, that what is the opportunity? What are the key things that I can teach the kids so that they can come out of this? Maybe the academic is less, but they have something else which is more stronger. So I can share a couple of examples just to say what are the things I did. So when we just back from Switzerland back to Hong Kong, we were in lockdown. So all of us need to be at home for totally 2 weeks. And then we together as a family, we say, so how can we make this the best memory as a lockdown memory? And then we come up with this idea of a mini Olympics So that we did the 14 days mini Olympics. So everybody nominated one game. So some push-ups and jumps, ropes, and we do it every day. And we see who is the best, and also that who improved the most. Then it's amazing that every day that's the highlight of our day. We did exercise and we have bonding. And what's amazing is also that over the 14 days, how much we can improve. And we have our motto called "Be Your Best." So that every day we need to give it all and be your best. And after 2 weeks, and that all our score is probably on average more than double. So all of us feel that a sense of pride. And we also made a formal ceremony to celebrate. It's also important, to bring that joy. So we even made a trophy customized with our motto, "Be Your Best Every Day," and the Yapi Family Mini Olympics. So that my son wins that, and he is so happy. And then we have my husband wins the best improvement. He is probably the least sporty person, but he made the biggest improvement. And we as a family decided that it's great fun. We would like to continue this in the future once a year. So through that, we kind of had our exercise part fixed. We've learned a lot. We have core values being taught to the kids. And as a family, it's nice bonding time. So that's probably one of the highlights I would like to share. But there's also other stories.
I was just going to say, I think that a lot is that, the emotional impact that COVID's having on our children, can be quite profound. And what a lot of people have been sharing is that, their children have gone through times of, like yours were in Switzerland, feeling, like this is an adventure and this is fun, and they really sort of, ease through it. And then now, because lockdown's going on for quite a long time, there are birthday parties they're missing their friends, there's lots of different things. And so I'm hearing a lot about this sort of emotions and ups and downs. And I love that you had your Olympics. I'm just curious, sort of now, obviously you're maybe coming out of it, but children, where you've got the space a little bit more to hear from them, different things that are going on. And I think it's those things those moments that are actually really precious, because as a busy businesswoman, and your kids in school, maybe you don't always have that sort of really close and intimate one-on-one time as much as you've maybe had over the last few weeks. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. We definitely have our ups and downs, and sometimes clashes that's happening at home, when you're at home 24 hours all the time, right? And the kids also have their own, as you said, emotional ups and downs. So that's what I kind of doing is that I actually kind of share even more with our kids that's how emotional works, and so that you will have triggering events, and through that event, what is the thoughts comes, right? And through the thoughts, then what's the emotion you have, and through that, what is your physical sensation, and then what's your behavior, what that lead to. So one example is that the one day I had a pretty big clash with my daughter, and they're always very creative. So they built at home a tent with all the covers and things, and then they love it so much. It's almost like their new home. So they stay inside to read, but it's so dark, right? I usually don't interfere, but when it's kind of has a negative impact of their health, I need to. So I just take one cover out so there's light in, and then that's my daughter kind of like burst into tears, big tears, and big anger, and Then he said, "Mini mommy, you destroy my whole tent." And then he come to kind of like kick me and do all those sorts of things. And then I just call time out and let her to be alone a bit. And then later kind of talk it through. I asked her what happened. And then she kind of shared with me that she felt, and because she knows this circle, so I kind of step by step. So I said, well, what is your, so mommy take out the cover. So that's the event, right? And then what happened? What's your thoughts? So I'm thinking that it would be so difficult for me to rebuild it again. And mommy is mini. Mommy did that purposely. And then we discuss about, is it true, right? And is it serving you? Do you really think mommy is mini, or mommy is always truly love you, right? And then that's, oh, okay, you think that. And then what's the emotion and how you feel? She said, oh, then I feel so much anger. And I feel like a big fireball in my belly. It comes slowly up, up, up. And then in the end, it's come out of my head and my hands. So I just come to hit you. And then I said, that's, then what happens next? And so then you ask me to breathe and slowly calm down. And then I kind of feel guilty of what I did. And then I kind of shared with her that I feel very proud of her because she actually calmed down quite quick. So I usually teach them that you breathing roles, breathing love, and breathe out anger, breathe out fire. So she actually come back. So I positively acknowledge that. I think that you're doing great. You actually manage your emotion really well. And then that you do not need to feel guilty because that you did the best you can at that moment. And sometimes we have those emotions and it is okay. And we just, I teach her how to accept herself and not to go to the guilt side, but learn from it. That next time, how we can think differently, how we can use all our breathing and things more efficiently, so we don't go to. So in the whole circle, there's different intervention points. Yeah, intervention points. How you can use all these things. And I told her that you're only 7 years old, but you are a lot better than many of my coaches.
My leaders that I'm working with in expressing your emotions. And that's what I love, is that, you know, these techniques that you've got for your clients, for the leaders that you're working with, you know, you're using them with your children to help them. And I think that's what we can learn is, you know, the skills that we have are so transferable. You know, it's not, okay, you know, this is your business self, this is your home self. You know, all of the things that we're learning can cross over. And that was something I always shared with the women that I was coaching when they went through the parenting journey and into motherhood, that all the things that they were learning as they were becoming mums and dads, you know, that the leaders can take those back into the workplace. And if you've ever negotiated, you know, with a toddler or with a child who's not in a great space and in a great mood, you know, work then becomes, you know, easy peasy. You know, difficult employees are not really that difficult once you know, mastered those sort of skills. So, you know, obviously our conversation today is about the sort of consciousness of leaders and bringing, you know, this consciousness of how we show up to work and play. And that's what I think you model so beautifully, is the way that you parent, the way that you pivot your business, the way that you know, work with your leaders. You know, it's all flowing through the different ways that you show up, and it all is coming from, you know, this heart-centered place where your desire to help people to know themselves more, to love more, to understand their emotions more, you know, is able to be brought out. And I see that as a real clear thread through all the work that you do, whether you sort of are conscious of that or not. You know, it's very visible to me to watch you and to listen to you, to see that, you know, coming along. And I think, as parents, as I say, I think a lot of leaders who are at home trying to juggle, the two roles, it's about thinking, okay, what are the skills that I have? How can I move things? And also, how can we, let go of the need to try and be doing everything perfectly? And obviously, the other thing that's flowing through this conference, as the imperfect leader, is how we can take the pressure off ourselves to expect to know all the answers. And you were, just modeling there, just in the moment, just responding to her. And you'd not done that sort of exercise with her before. You didn't know how she was going to react. You didn't know whether it was going to work, but you just thought, okay, let's kind of have this conversation. Let's see, that learning, that being willing to try new things can be really helpful in this time of change. When we're going through so much. So I'm just checking the internet there. So yeah, there's so much that we could talk about. Is there any that's coming to you? I mean, you talked about sort of, that your deeper power comes from within, and it's something I'm assuming that you've developed over time, both from your sort of cultural background and just through lots of reading and study. But the consciousness that you bring to your leaders, you're working with leaders locally in Hong Kong, and I'm assuming sort of in the wider world as well. And how deeply are you going with them with the kind of consciousness work? What sort of reception are you getting to the kind of work that you're doing?
Yeah. So I actually quite surprised in a way, or not surprised, that a lot of leaders today, that they are quite open to go deeper. So I have two types of clients who come to me. One is probably they have a lot of stress and would like to build resilience. I have my model of kind of optimize your mind, optimize your power, and also optimize your kind of physical health and wellness, because all these three are very integrated. But I also have a lot of people to come to me to want to become really a powerful leader, like from inside out, and to have true confidence and visibility, and to lead with a purpose. And my approach will be that, because from my own kind of growth journey, also that it's a combination of healing work, that to heal our inner child, or the insecurity, limiting beliefs, and negative patterns, to understand all that. Because a great leader needs to have very, very solid security. Right? So, and related with perfect leader or imperfect, that only when you have that strong security, you will have the courage to be imperfect, that you will move beyond that judgment, right and wrong, and also the judgment toward others, and many of the time the judgment toward yourself, right? So you can really move beyond that and go into the solution of what is the best for what's needed, right? What is the best for everybody? And then it's not that much about you. When the healing work is done, and when the person is truly secure, and then that's bring the person to when all the limiting belief, negative patterns have been worked and shifted, then we can step into our deeper power. So who I am, and what is the meaning of life for me, what is my purpose, what I would like to bring to the world, what is the best way for me to serve. And once you get that kind of clear of all your values, your deep source of power, and connect to that, so that's where you feel you have abundance of energy and abundance of time, then you can go toward that. And then the third part is that once you become a whole person and you know who you are, then how you can, as a leader, help your team to do that. How you create a secure environment, a psychological safety, people talk a lot, right? How you create that for the team, so the team can have that security to create, to perform? How you help the team to come up with their purpose, with a meaning? And I feel that coaching skills and also team coaching skills, what makes an effective team, what are the process, and all those are probably the third element. So once the leader is whole and conscious himself, and then that's how he or she can help the team to become conscious and to move up the conscious ladder.
Yeah, and I think it is, the sort of flow of this conference. We started very much sort of talking about imperfect leadership when I opened the conference, and then Stella Brooks talked very much about sort of energy and just the general consciousness of life, and then we moved on and talked about confidence and building that inner core to have the kind of wherewithal and the strength to open up to your darker side or your shadow side, and look at your feelings so that you can deal with that. And then we're moving through. Yesterday we were talking. With my conversation with Mona, it was very much from the inside out, and the same with Anima. We're really understanding as leaders, it's much more about self-awareness that we need to develop, and the consciousness that we need to develop, and where we sit in the world, how we feel about everything. Because once we've got that sorted, and that's not a sort of just a small piece, oh yeah, I've got that sorted now. That's that can be a lifelong journey. But once we're sort of on the way, that's when we can really show up and be effective leaders. And as you say, then it's about the co-creation, about building the good teams. And I think when you are not coming from a big place of ego and it's all about me, and you've got fears and judgments going through your mind, you can, when you've let go of that, you can just show up and support others. And we've very much got this energy in this conference of a kind of rising tide lifts all boats, and the more that we can support each other as leaders in this event, and as more as I'm being supported, the better we can all show up. And I think it's a perfect modeling of leadership in the way that we need to move forward. And I think you describe it in the approach that you have. We're all very similarly aligned with the ways that we believe leadership, needs to be redesigned, and the way that we can move forward. So before I'd just love to ask everybody now, as we're sort of moving to the sort of latter part of today's conversation, if you've got any questions for Judy, post them in the chat now, and we can get on to them. If you've got any questions you want to jump on and speak to us about. But we've got one here. How do you raise consciousness in the corporate and political worlds? I mean, that's not a small question. But what would your response be to that? So how do you start raising consciousness?
Yeah, a great question, and it's probably a continuous question that I'm asking myself all the time, and I say a lot of people are asking these questions, how we raise the consciousness. So what I think is that how we raise consciousness of the leaders. If every leader, their consciousness goes up, and then that they will naturally, and that as a society will happen. I think in the first day that Stella talks a lot about Ken Wilber's work, which I personally love a lot. So if anybody missed that session, I will highly recommend you go back. And Ken Wilber, because they developed a lot of map for leaders, that how you can self-actualize and to raise your consciousness. And probably today I would like to invite one of my other teacher, which I use a lot. His name is David Hawkins. So he developed that conscious map. And David Hawkins is also very renowned doctor, psychiatrist, and also author of more than 10 books, winning a lot of honors. The most famous part is his consciousness map, which he basically mapping out all the different states, emotional states, and what's the energy alongside it. I actually have it with me.
Yeah,
you can see it. So on the bottom part is a bit more of those states which are dominated by fear, guilt, shame, those are more contracting. And then slowly you move to pride. Very interestingly, that's according to his research, even pride is contracting, it's negative energy. But if you think about the perfect leadership, the perfection, right? So it's the proud leaders, the need to be perfect, right? And that's actually shrink us, it's contracting. And then you can moving up, then that's the place of courage. That's the first place you reach that you begin to have positive energy. And then you're slowly moving up more neutral, and then joy, love, compassion, and then peace, and then enlightened. So all those states is expansion. So that if we can move, and according to his research, today 85% of the people is living at pride or below. So which means it's a contracting, a lower consciousness. So if we can teach people all these tools and ways to moving up of the conscious map. So number one, you kind of need to know that's a direction we all want to go to, that joy and love, not external, internal, inside out of joy, inside out of love, and learns the way of how you shift your thoughts, crisis or opportunity, right? So you don't go stay in the fear or worry, you go into the creating, expanding energy, and how you shift your emotion when you are in the anger, when you are in the worry or in the fear. It's about how you can aware of it, acknowledge of it, accept it, process it, and then that go into peace. And then inviting gratitude, gratefulness, and shift on the other end. You can go back to your peace, but also understand that information, emotion is an information system, and learn what's the information you need to learn from it, and then transform. So give people the goal of moving up the conscious map ladder, and teaching people all the methods and the ways to do that. If we can begin with the children, that's what I'm very passionate with my kids, so that then parenting becomes not a chore, it's a joy, because my passion.
And I think the thing is, it sounds, when you break it down, it can sound like, oh my gosh, there's all these steps to go. But actually, once you've learned it, it's really quite simple to move through that process. And one thing that I've really learned, with my emotions and going through different experiences, is that emotions ultimately are only energy, and energy can shift. And so you're feeling, you can't be feeling anger at the same time you're feeling joy, but you can move from one to another. And it's not to suppress, those negative feelings just to get straight to the good, but we can really open ourselves up. And we talked yesterday about a mindset shift of, orientating one way, orientating another. And I think when we're talking about emotions, we can, open ourselves up to more positive emotions far more quickly than we probably realize. So I think there's so much, opportunity for us. So I'd love to see if there's any other questions that we've got for Judy. So I think what you've shared today is just that whole kind of overview of how parenting and business and leadership and everything all kind of intersects. It's all just coming together. So we've got some comments here, okay, but not a question. So and just saying that they're inspired by the conversation. So we could talk, I know, about this sort of raising consciousness for a long time, but I think it's just inviting leaders. What the Leadership Redesigned conference is all about is inviting leaders to look at different ways of leading, to consider different ways of showing up as individuals, as teams, as parents, as co-creators, so that we all see things in other ways and can look at how collectively we can move ourselves forward in a much more positive way, and we can break down some of the stereotypes that leadership has to be this way, or we have to, in order to show up as a leader, you have to look like this, or dress like this, or behave like this. You know, we want to, for me personally, to break down those kind of barriers and those stereotypes so that we can just show up, you know, as our authentic selves. So I would love, it doesn't look like we've got any hands raised, so I would love, yeah, I would love it just to kind of wrap up now. If there's anything that you would like to just leave us with, one sort of simple short message that everyone can take away, what would that be?
I think I shared a lot of concepts, but I think that the concept need to put into practice. So that how I would invite people who are on the participant who hear this talk, or even in the future, that what is the main key takeaway that you feel really resonate with you, and then that how you can apply that in your daily life, so that you can raise your consciousness and you can live a life more lighter and be happier. And you can juggle more balls with less weight.
Yeah, great. We've just got one quick question. Have you got a strategy, it's not really a quick question, for reaching into companies to start the conversation and the shift? I mean, my sense is you show up as you and start the conversations, but what would you say to that?
That will be a question I would like to hear more brainstorming. So what I do today is probably the corporate, the mental health is quite a hot topic now. So that's one area we can go in and to teach mindfulness and consciousness and to help people. And resilience is another quite hot topic, that's because people have too many stress, and with all the COVID-19 and all that, that's another door that can help to open the door. And also the woman leadership. So that a lot of companies would like to, they realize that the masculine culture and the woman on the board, many companies, they would like to have like 30%, they even have a target, but so difficult to reach it. And so we can maybe help women, because women are more close to this concept of feminine power, of consciousness, awareness. They are more heart-based. So if we can share this with women first, and then they can go out and share that with the men, that's probably another door which I can think about. But if audience have any other strategy, I would be very happy to hear.
And I would just say it's definitely aimed at women, and we're talking to heart-based men and women about shifting leadership. So you know, I've been having conversations with some incredible men who are really trying to shift the culture as well. So, and I'm really passionate about including them in the conversation. So one strategy may be with the women's groups, but I think, you know, what we're certainly finding here, it's about doing things in a really inclusive way and opening up all the voices so that we can, you know, really try and, you know, shift the conversation from a non-gender biased kind of focus. So there's just one other kind of comment. It's quite long, so I'm just kind of getting to the question. But have you any experience of working with organisations about changing their ways of thinking? Well, that is essentially what you do, isn't it? So you know, the way that you show up with leaders is to help them, you know, shift their consciousness. That's the way that you work.
Yes, we did some like quite big coaching program. We went to a corporate. We coached 50 of their people and to become kind of more stress management, resilience, and through that we actually shared a lot of how you connect to your purpose and power and consciousness, and that's just let people to think about life a bit differently, because corporate people, they're very single-minded career success. They don't have time to take a step back and to reflect. And another approach which just come to my mind, I would like to explore is also team coaching, because that's nowadays the world changed so quick. And how, if we can build an effective team, to build effective team, there's a whole set of skills, which is team coaching. But I think in the core is also how the leader can feel secure, and how all the members can feel that. How we move from ego to be of service. How we move from I to we. How we move from like the leader from power to be in power. And all these things I see its core in team coaching. So that's how we can use all those effectiveness in team coaching and combine with the consciousness piece. So I think with that, we can make really effective of the key team. So if team is a small organization, then the organization can be more effective, and then the whole society can be more effective.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have to start with us. We have to start with raising the consciousness from the inside out. So thank you so much, Judy. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you this morning, UK time. I know it's the afternoon for you. So thanks for making time in your busy schedule. And if anybody wants to find you, all your details are on the registration page, the bio and everything is there. So do get in touch with Judy if you'd like to know more. And just remains for me to say thank you so much for your contribution to Leadership Redesigned. And, great conversation, and great to learn a little bit more about you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I really enjoyed this conversation, and thanks for all the participants here and share your thoughts. I really love this topic, you probably can see, and also I really love this conference that Lisa, you put it together. And let's all set the intention that I really believe the world need to hear all these. The leadership really need to redesign. The whole world need to redesign, and let's set the intention that will happen sooner than we thought. The consciousness is already being lived. It will be continue to be lived.